This is South Park's most absurd episodes, starting off with Season 5's Towley, which is an absolute fever dream. And honestly, this episode starts off in a pretty normal way for South Park, with the boys playing video games, and Cartman finding something rather quite peculiar in Stan's mum's bathroom.
Hey Mom, Cartman found a bloody cotton thing in the bathroom. Look.
And so, after a hilarious back and forth with Stan's mom, she becomes so embarrassed that she decides to buy the boys the new Okama Game Sphere in order to get them to stop talking. Oh, and hi, quick AI check, make sure to subscribe. Anyway, back to South Park. It's at this point that the episode starts to get really trippy, as just when the boys were planning out how many hours of video games they can play before school, we are then introduced to the man, the myth, the towel himself, Towley.
Don't forget to bring a towel.
Okay. Thanks, Towley.
You wanna get high?
And everything about Towley is just so absurd. From the fact that he's a talking towel, always wants to get high, and that his voice actor Vernon Chapman is actually famous for making Wonder Chosen and Xavier Renegade Angel, which, if you didn't know, are some of the most trippy shows in existence. However, the boys don't exactly like Towley.
You wanna get high?
No, we don't want to get high.
Okay. You sure?
Yes, go away, stupid towel.
Which is a shame for them, as they're going to be seeing a whole lot more of him. As once the US military and Tynacorp both find out about his escape, they then hold the boys' new video game system hostage, whilst they battle it out to see who gets to keep control of this incredibly high towel.
We must instigate Plan B.
You mean?
Yes. Destroy all towels within a 1,000-mile radius.
However, of course, because it's South Park, the plot for this episode never takes itself too seriously. In fact, this episode borders on the outright outrageous, with Towley's constant need to get high providing some incredibly funny moments.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's the melody to Funky Town. Won't you take me down to Funky Town?
Although, by far the most absurd part of this entire episode comes at the very end, as once the US military and Tynacorp have their final clash, some of the most ridiculous plot twists in all of South Park take place. All whilst the boys are finally reunited with their games console and are paying absolutely no attention.
Go on. Tell them why you've been making towels. Zytar!
Oh, there's gold. Get the gold, Kenny.
And the next episode on our list is Woodland Critter Christmas, which right from the very start is just incredibly trippy, as Stan wanders off into the forest and discovers some very lively animals who then ask him to kill a mountain lion so that they can give birth to their Lord and Savior.
Hey, we shouldn't be upset this Christmas. We've got Stanny. Of course, Stanny can do anything. If he can build a manger, he can stop that mean old mountain lion.
Which honestly, on the surface, sounds very wholesome for this Christmas episode. However, once Stan kills this mountain lion, this is where the episode takes a rather dark turn. As after having to watch the mountain lion cubs grieve their now dead mother, Stan then realizes that the woodland Christmas critters actually plan on giving birth to a much different kind of savior.
Now our critter Christmas can finally happen. Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Wait, what?
And honestly, one of my favorite reoccurring jokes in this episode is the interaction that Stan has with Trey Parker as the narrator of this episode. As when Stan refuses to cooperate with the narration, he's then brutally guilt-tripped into the next scene.
He knew in his heart the thing he had to do.
Leave me alone!
He knew that only by going to the forest could he—
All right! God!
And boy, if you thought the episode was weird thus far, well, then you're right. But it only gets stranger from here, as once Stan realizes that he can't stop all of these creatures alone, he then goes back to the mountain lion cubs, who suggest stopping the birth of the Antichrist in a rather unusual way.
There still has to be a way for you to kill the porcupine's baby.
What? You mean like an abortion? Yeah, an abortion, that could work.
And this truly is a race against time, as while Stan is gone, the critters had taken Kyle and had planned for Kyle to be the host body for the literal Antichrist. Although thankfully for the purity of our eyeballs, we don't have to see Kyle being sacrificed. As living up to his name, Santa comes to save this Christmas special with some festive cheer. Oh, and of course, a lot of bullets.
Gee whiz, Santa, you're not gonna kill me, are you?
However, despite Kyle being freed, he then proclaims that he wants to have the Antichrist inside of him so that he can help the Jews take over forever, which then leads him to letting this horrible being into his body.
Yes! Now the Jews shall take control of Christmas once and for all!
But wait, Christmas critters, Santa, Kyle being the bad guy, doesn't this all seem a little bit too good to be true? Well, that's because it's actually a figment of Eric Cartman's imagination, with Cartman telling this story to all of his classmates before inevitably getting into an argument with Kyle. However, after all of the kids in the class, including Stan, beg Kyle to let Cartman finish his story, well, then Kyle finally caves in and lets Eric finish, which is something that he would instantly regret, as Cartman details that Kyle would then die via a horrible disease.
And they all lived happily ever after. Except for Kyle, who died of AIDS 2 weeks later.
And so, from this festive fever dream, we now go to one of the most iconic mind-bending episodes in South Park history. And of course, I'm talking about Grounded Vindaloop.
Dude, now this is getting weird.
And this episode starts off with Cartman playing a cruel joke on Butters by strapping a pair of VR goggles to his head and making him believe that he's in VR.
I still can't hear any sound except for your voice.
Yeah, they haven't worked out the audio yet, but stupid.
Although, by far one of the funniest parts of this whole opening sequence is when Butters, believing that he's still in VR, goes into his own home and finally gives his dad some payback for all of his years of grounding.
I know that. What do you...
This is for all the times I got grounded.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
Ah, I could almost feel his balls on my fist.
And boy, Butters then takes this way too far, with Butters beating up random people in the street and even taking their money before being hospitalized. With Cartman doing what Cartman does best, and continuing to make Butters believe that he's still in VR by dressing up as Neo from The Matrix.
You see, in this world, things aren't what they seem.
Ah, okay, stop.
And this is where Grounded Vindaloop truly becomes an iconic, absurd South Park episode, as Cartman himself then gets a call from the Oculus Rift customer support, telling him that he is in fact the one that is stuck in virtual reality.
Right now, you're actually in your room at your computer wearing an Oculus headset, but you're in a coma-like trance, my friend.
Yeah.
And it only gets much stranger from here, as it's then Kyle who's in VR, then Kenny, and it even gets to the point where the customer service agent is stuck in his own feedback loop.
A customer who is in virtual reality called customer service, and it has created a customer feedback loop. Okay? Here in India, we call it a customer feedback vindaloop.
And if you're finding this hard to keep up with, well then so are the boys, with Stan eventually calling back the customer service agent, where it's revealed that giving good customer feedback is the only way to break the cycle of the VR headset, and once and for all, escape for good.
Yes! Yes, you've answered all my questions, and I am pleased with the customer service I've been provided!
And after this phone call, we are blessed with quite possibly the greatest ending to a South Park episode ever, as all of the boys then turn into real kids, and it's revealed that Stan was in fact the one that was stuck in virtual reality this entire time.
So, aside from all the bullcrap, what do you think of the Oculus?
It's pretty cool, but the graphics suck.
And boy, nothing could have prepared me for that ending. However, moving on, we have the episode that inspired this entire video, Major Boobage, which starts off with Mr. Mackey, a man who is known for this phrase:
drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad.
because drugs are bad, okay?
Inadvertently telling all of the students of South Park Elementary best ways to get high.
Spray a concentrated urine to fend off other male cats, and that can get you really high. Okay, really high.
With Kenny, of course, wanting to be the one to test this new drug out.
Whoa!
And it's here that we are transported to one of the most beautiful trip sequences in all of animation, as Kenny becomes immersed in a fantastical world based on the 1981 movie Heavy Metal, with this trip sequence also being accompanied by Don Felder's track Heavy Metal. And it's in this trip sequence where Kenny is able to live out all of his wildest dreams, which of course for Kenny is getting to spend quality time with a lady with large breasts. Although, unfortunately for Kenny, his trip is then cut short by the boys just before he gets to see her fully naked.
Dude, that cat urine really f***ed you up. You were seriously tripping balls.
And so, once the town finds out about this cat cheesing epidemic, instead of simply just talking to the boys about the dangers of drug use, the entire town instead go out of their way to outlaw cats, with the reasoning for this just being top-tier South Park.
Gerald's right. We all have to face it. Cats are deadly animals. If you stick your nose up their crotch and snort their piss, they can kill you.
And this then leads to quite possibly one of the funniest B-plots in South Park, as in a rare moment of empathy, Cartman then hides all of the town's cats in his attic, whilst, of course, always alluding to the comparisons to World War II.
Shh. Mr. Kitty, you have to live in the attic for now. Here, write a diary.
However, whilst the rest of the parents in South Park are on high alert, Kyle's father, Gerald Broflovsky, is far more interested in getting cheesed out of his mind, as once he finds the cat that Kyle confiscated from Kenny, this episode once more gets a whole lot trippier.
And then I'll never do it again. After this one last time.
And this time during the trip sequence, things get even spicier, as in order to finally get a look at the naked lady, her father demands that Kenny and Gerald fight in the bestiary, which is something that looks really cool in the trip sequence, but far less so in real life. And boy, just look at the faces of the people in town. Although, this incredibly trippy episode does have a happy ending, as Gerald then replicates Bill Clinton's famous Monica Lewinsky speech in order to once and for all tell the residents of South Park drugs are bad. Okay?
Problem is, the more you go into that world, the more you need to go. Until you start blowing off all the real people who care about you.
And moving on, the next episode on our list is Season 15's Bass to Mouth, which begins with all of the students of South Park Elementary realizing that their private information is being posted on a site called Eavesdropper.
He went on to call her butt crack, quote, nice, and that the whole experience was, quote, pretty awesome.
And at this point, you may be thinking, hey, Mr. Harryfromends, this isn't trippy at all. And you're right, as the trippy part of this episode only comes 8 minutes in, as the boys discover that a rat called WikiLeaks is the one posting all of their information online.
1, 2, 3.
And after this, the old 4th grade class gerbil Lemmywinks is called upon by the spirit animal Frog King in order to stop WikiLeaks, as it turns out that Lemmywinks is actually WikiLeaks' brother, which really makes you think just how high were Matt and Trey when writing this episode.
Only you can stop him, Lemmywinks.
Lemmywinks, king of jabbers, stop your brother of doom.
However, the insanity doesn't stop here. In fact, not even close, as we then get introduced to the Sparrow Prince, and then to a rather controversial fish called Catatafish, who may or may not have gotten himself mixed up with an underage salmon.
The choice is yours. I'm not here to make you do anything. Like that underage salmon. I didn't make her do anything. If she wants to do Bast-a-Mouth, how is it my fault?
And so, with the gang all assembled, it's time for them to finally put an end to WikiLeaks once and for all. However, in one of the most deranged plot twists in South Park history, teachers of South Park Elementary decide to throw Eric Cartman under a bus in order to stop WikiLeaks from exposing their crimes, with Mr. Mackey even going as far as writing Cartman's fake on a live note.
Dear guys, I just cannot go on, okay? I'm tired of being fat, okay? And I have to end it all, okay?
Although, when the boys tell the teachers that Lemmy Winks is the key to stopping WikiLeaks, well, then everyone just abandons Cartman under the bus and goes to watch the final showdown between these two gerbil brothers, which, let's just say, goes exactly how you would expect.
Oh, sure, he is f***ing him up.
And once Lemmy Winks has defeated his own brother, we then get an incredible last scene, as Eric Cartman, much to everyone's surprise, seems to have taken the literal plot on his life by the teachers surprisingly well.
But I hope you understand the faculty didn't really have a choice.
It's okay, Mr. Mackey. I'm totally over it.
Well, I think you're being very mature about this, Eric.
However, of course, since this is Cartman, it turns out that he laced these cookies with laxatives, which then leads to Mr. Mackey having a hilarious reaction.
It's bad. Excuse me, kids, I need to run. I got... Ow!
I put a lot of Arby's horsey sauce on those.
And swiftly moving on, the next episode on our list is Season 8's Quest for Ratings, which right from the jump starts off in a very quirky way, with all of the boys dressed up as little mini news anchors and putting on a special news show for the entire school.
And now here with the Celebrity Watch is Butter Stutch. Butter, seen any celebrities?
No, not yet.
Although, in a very South Park twist, this show then gets cancelled by the film teacher as they were getting outperformed in the ratings by Craig, with this seeming like a major injustice to the boys, as Craig's show is nothing but mindless filler that shows animals from a wide-angled lens.
That's not even TV.
And so, not wanting to lose their news show, the boys decide to put up a fight. And they do this by lying about celebrities, fear-mongering, and reporting on trashy gossip, just like the real news. However, quite possibly the most messed up change to the show comes when Cartman confronts Tolkien about his accent.
All the great African-American news people have learned to hide their demonic tribe speak with a more pure Caucasian dialect. There's no shame in it, and I think it'll really help our ratings.
Although, unfortunately for the boys, none of these changes actually help to get their ratings up. And so, in order to avoid failing their film class, all of the boys then decide to take copious amounts of cough syrup in order to think of new ideas for their show.
Then there's the maximum strength Codatussin cough and cold. But of course, that's only if you really want to trip balls.
And I mean, boy, this is just peak South Park, as all of the boys then start tripping balls to the point where society itself no longer seems real. And from Butters running naked in the street to B-roll of the real world, spliced in with Cartman and Kyle excitedly writing down ideas, this trip sequence truly has everything. Well, that is, apart from an actual end result for the boys.
I didn't come up with anything. I did. I wrote something down. Here it is. Squiggly line circle.
However, just like Kyle's dad at the end of Major Boobage, the boys then decide to warn about the dangers of cough syrup use in their next news show. And, of course, they do this by utilizing all of the fear-mongering that they've learned along the way.
Cough medicine abuse in school! With the Sexy Action School News Team. It's the report you can't afford to miss.
Although, all of this pales in comparison to what I believe is the trippiest episode in South Park history, which, of course, is Season 7's cancelled.
How about a taco that ice cream?
with this episode starting the exact same way as the pilot. And I mean literally word for word, as Cartman is visited in the night by aliens and tells the boys about it at the bus stop the morning after. However, almost immediately after this, the boys then realize that they're living the same day, and that something rather strange is definitely happening. And so, with the help of Chef, they take Cartman to go see a proctologist, which, let's just say, doesn't exactly go to plan.
Wait, what's this?
That's right, Cartman has an entire alien satellite hidden in his nether region, which, if you're anything like me, you may be wondering, why? Well, this is where the episode gets truly bizarre, as the boys then get abducted by aliens, where it's revealed that the entire Earth is being broadcast all throughout the universe via Cartman's rectum.
Asians, bears, ducks, Jews, deer, and Hispanics all trying to live side by side on one planet. It's great!
Although, this wouldn't last for long, as once the Earthlings become aware of the show, this then causes the show to be cancelled, as all of the network heads agree that Earth being in on the joke just doesn't make it nearly as funny.
What? Who canceled us?
The Universal Network heads. They say the Earthlings have become aware of the show, so it won't be funny anymore.
Oh, did we do that?
However, instead of just simply cancelling the show, alien executives then plan on destroying Earth, which then creates a race against time for the boys in order to try and win over the intergalactic executives, who, of course, in true South Park fashion, look a lot like a particular group of people.
Oh, sure, come on in, Earthlings. We're just checking out our new show.
And thankfully for the safety of the Earth, Kenny was able to snap a picture of the two executives doing unspeakable acts, which they then use as blackmail to make sure that the Earth doesn't get cancelled.
You kids won't tell anybody about this, right? Yeah. No, wait. We won't tell anybody if you don't cancel our show.
Ooh, I knew that was coming.
And so, these were the most absurd episodes in South Park. Let me know in the comments, did I miss any trippy episodes? And also let me know, which episode did you find the trippiest?